I love these $10 a month DCA gang comments every day. I love these $1,000 net worth, $1,000 net worth of comments every day. Why is the price not going up? The ETF is coming. Why is the price not going up? Let me go figure out why the price isn't going up. And maybe it's because the ETF is irrelevant. Oh, I'm going to take my intelligent brain that allows me to DCA $10 a month and have $1,000 of net worth. And I'm going to put a comment out there saying, no one is front running this ETF. Therefore, this is not important. Morons. So there is reasons why literally no significant amount of capital can front run the Bitcoin ETF. There is tax reasons, there is regulatory reasons, there are governance reasons that people cannot do it. This is the first time in human history that retail can actually front run the institutions. And all these morons are sitting around waiting for them to be told and given permission by the market, by the price going up enough, that this is the right thing to do. I would implore anyone who's sitting there going, oh my God, why is the price not moving up? I don't know why. Every time I think of a moron, like this is the movement I just think of. That you understand what the asset is. Just because the price isn't going up doesn't mean the asset is getting any less scarce. In fact, you should be counting your damn blessings that the ETF has still not been approved. Because as we're learning, there is a shit ton, a metric shit ton of capital that is coming for your Bitcoin. Guided, laser guided missiles from the best financial military on earth. BlackRock, Fidelity, right? The best financial military on earth has got laser guided missiles pointed at the number one most scarce asset humanity has ever created. And they are at this point in time held back for regulatory, tax and governance reasons from investing in it until the ETF comes out. And you're listening to morons tell you that this somehow impacts the underlying asset. They're gagging to be able to invest in this asset because it is the best performing asset humanity has ever seen. And it's the hardest asset humanity has ever seen. And it's new. And there's so much marketing that can be done around it. Whew. Talk about so. This is why I start this YouTube channel, because it'd be people like my mom and my dad who will read this bullshit from doom and gloom boomers, $1,000 net worth, there's $10 a month DCA gang members, and I'll get text messages like I go, hey, if the ETF is this is literally a text. If the ETF is coming, how come the prices have gone up yet? Because that market, what you are focused on if you are in that market is price, and I understand that, but in order to actually take advantage of price, this is why you didn't buy property when property was, you know, a few £100 for a property, because you needed evidence, you needed permission to be told property is the right thing to do. And how does retail seek permission? Because the price is going up. It's how retail seeks permission psychologically. Retail seeks permission because the price is going up, and that subconsciously gives you permission to say, okay, this is the right thing to do. And when there is this spread, this moment of spread, you don't take action. And that's why I need to break, because, you know, it's not like any other asset that you can just print more properties. You actually cannot make any more Bitcoin. So there is a finality of scarcity issue here, which has to be overcome despite your love of the price going up in order to be told that you are doing the right thing. So let's cover some of these reasons as to why, and again, this is why I started doing videos. So please subscribe, please share these videos, because people are really not understanding the huge opportunity that you have here at this point to front run the institutions while they literally are handcuffed to not do anything until the ETF comes out. Now, will they be doing something like, having backdoor deals to here and this, that? Sure, but I'm talking about sizable capital. Cannot come in. It doesn't make sense for it to come in at this point until the ETF starts trading. So here's what, and everyone says, everyone is, they're probably front running it. That doesn't work like that, right? You got a conspiracy mindset and you need to take it and you need to stick it up your ass, because the real world doesn't work like that. Not everything's a conspiracy in the real world, right? There is obviously going to be some front running that's happening. Larry probably owns some big, I'm just speculating here, right? Any of these asset managers that have filed for an ETF probably own some Bitcoin in their personal portfolios, blah, 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 blah. Normal and legal, right? But is there institutional front running going on? No. And how do we know that? Because the price isn't moving. But that doesn't mean that the asset is impaired, right? There's a reason for that. So number one reason is tax. No institutional investor is going to want to buy Bitcoin in December, sell it in January, pay a tax, and go through all that administrative bullshit when they can just buy it in January when an ETF comes out. They don't need to worry about taxes. They don't need to worry about convincing their board. They don't need to worry about any of this. It's just not worth it. And remember, they're not holding for a 3-week window like you and I or anyone else that might be on a retail level. These people hold forever. These people hold forever, and therefore they do not want to have that short-term BS that they got to do. It's just not worth the cost of doing that. They want to hold Bitcoin, who gives a shit what it is today, until 20 years from now. And the best way to do that is going to be the ETF for them. So I don't want to deal with the tax side of it. Plus, I don't know whether it's going to be a cash create or an in-kind ETF. If it's an in-kind ETF, there may be a path for me to take my Bitcoin that I hold, put it into the ETF, and redeem some shares for that ETF. And therefore, I don't pay tax on the sale of my Bitcoin. We don't know what's going to happen. So there's no value in them even getting involved at this point. If I'm going to have a cash create ETF, I might as well just wait a month, get into the ETF, who gives a shit what the price is, and just hold it for 10 years after that. Number one reason. Regulatory. They have internal rules and governance structures and board members and people to manage risk on what's going on in the portfolio. Do you know how long it would take? Michael Saylor knows this better than anyone, because it took him 6 months to convince his board and get the lawyers in order and get the board in order and, okay, we're going to do this and this, that, and the other. It took him 6 months in order to get MicroStrategy's board ready to actually buy Bitcoin for the first time ever. It's going to take that long. Fuck all of that. I'm just going to wait until the ETF comes out, and then I tell the board, hey, we're going to buy Bitcoin through the ETF. Cool, done, boom, buy. Easy. And of course, there's going to be governance structures in place, because there's certain things like FASB, it's going to be, but it's from December next year, right? FASB rules have changed for accounting on Bitcoin. It's December next year, not now. So you still got to go through the regulatory BS to make sure that this asset, you can hold this legally and you can hold it in a safe way. So corporations cannot front run this thing, right? Institutional investors don't want to front run it, because what's the point when I can just buy the ETF in a month with the way the conversations are going? Plus, you don't think BlackRock and everyone else is calling on their clients saying, hey, this ETF, we're pretty confident it's going to come out in a month. Do you want us to allocate a portion of your capital for the ETF? Sure. Do you really think that advised capital is going to be told, hey, by the way, you should probably go buy some Bitcoin before the ETF comes out? Do you think that's going to happen? Of course that's not going to happen, because they want that capital to flood into the ETF after it's announced so that they can use that for marketing. So there is literally no incentive for anyone at this point, besides retail, for once in humanity, to actually front run it. And of course, there's going to be some little capital here and there that's smart enough to find a way to front run it. But any big advised capital, any person who has any governance that they need to pay attention to, is not front running this ETF. And this is good news. Because if they were, the price of Bitcoin will probably be at an all-time high at this point, with the amount of supply that's constraining on exchanges, with the amount of information that there is now out there for people to know. And this is a moment for retail to actually take advantage of this. Again, anyone who talks to me about this simply does not understand what the asset is. You are buying the hardest asset humanity has ever created. And you think that just because the price isn't going up, it changes the value of the asset? You don't understand investing. There is a difference between price and value. The price of something does not dictate the value, but the spread between the price and the value is the opportunity. And right now you have this opportunity because nobody else is doing it, right? They have reasons why they cannot. Their hands are handcuffed, why they cannot do this. And this is your opportunity to take advantage of this and get to 1 Bitcoin. People are not doing it because they're worried too much about the price. They think the price has a reflection on the value, right? But most wealth is created when there is a wide spread between price and value, and that's what we have right now. I know that there is $150 trillion of capital in the world that's advised, that's about to be unlocked to invest in Bitcoin because we now have a US spot ETF. I know a small portion of that will come into Bitcoin. Therefore, I can estimate based on the bull market multiple what the value is going to be. And therefore, I could say, okay, if I think Bitcoin is going to be $1 million a coin and the price currently is $50,000 a coin or whatever it is, that's the spread. That's the value proposition that I have. That's the profit proposition that I have there. And everyone is fucking it up because you're too worried about price trying to dictate something's value. And it never works like that. The value of something is not dependent on the price of it. That is the opportunity. And right now, you have the opportunity because you can actually buy Bitcoin. There are no choke points. You can actually figure out how to own Bitcoin right now, self-custody, by yourself, before the institutional capital comes in. But you're too worried about the price not moving up, so that, and when the price does move up, it'll be too late. Because the price can go vertical on this thing a lot faster than a lot of people think. Which is why I'm trying to explain to people that these institutions are coming and they're not messing around. They're coming and they're coming for everything. They're coming, they don't care about you, they don't care about your family, they don't care about your future, they don't care about any of that. What they care about is making sure that they own enough of the hardest, most secure asset humanity has ever seen. So don't you think you should be caring about the same thing too? Instead of worrying about the ETF being front run, now you understand that they cannot front run it. Right? The institutions are going to come in and front run Bitcoin to $5 million a coin. Right? They're going to come in and whatever the price goes to, whoever buys on day one, whatever the price goes to in the first week, the first 2 weeks, the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, they will know that they are front running the $1 million plus price point. And they're okay with that because institutions don't need to make 50,000 to $1 million. They need to make, a 20% compounded annual growth rate, and they're completely happy with that. So trying to do 50 is going to be amazing for them. They don't need to front run this. Likely no significant capital is going to front run the Bitcoin ETF, and that is your opportunity. Don't get distracted by the $1,000 net worthers, the $10 a month DCA gang, the happy hippies, and the doom and gloom boomers. Do not get distracted by them about the ETF. The underlying asset still has the same amount of value as ever before. Just because the price isn't moving up, understand why it's not moving up and understand what's going to happen once it does start moving, because you are going to fucking miss this if you get distracted. And ultimately, despite all of this, despite whether you get to your own Bitcoin or not, there's still only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.